Books sitting on your shelves that you've already read and don't know what to do with them anymore?
Yeah, a Houston nonprofit has the perfect solution. As KPRC2's Andy Sirota shows us, it's making a world of difference all the way in Africa by turning those unused books into valuable, life-changing resources.
You're standing in our warehouse here on Polk Street, which is where we gather all the books.
Inside this typical-looking warehouse just east of downtown Houston,
Women pioneers of science.
Volunteers with Books for Development gather every Saturday for a few hours to sort through donated books.
A volunteer would pick this up and say, okay, science, secondary, just throw it in there like that.
Preparing them for a journey across the world that will help change lives across Central and East Africa. What began as a church mission to supply books to one community in Uganda has transformed into a widespread initiative.
Kenya, Malawi, Zambia, Rwanda.
Shipping over 2 million books abroad, ensuring they meet the cultural and educational needs of the communities they serve.
Those are 2 million books from Houston that would have ended up in a landfill.
Peggy Burke is the nonprofit's executive vice president. She says once the books arrive in Africa, volunteers from Houston travel overseas to these areas to quickly set up libraries, often greeted by eager children filled with curiosity.
It typically takes about 2 full days of working. And then while that's going on, the children are at the window like this, trying to, get in or trying to reach in and borrow a book ahead of time. So it's a really fun and rewarding thing for our volunteers.
Over the past 12 years, they've established more than 200 in primary schools and community public libraries in villages throughout the region, fostering literacy and planting the seeds for a brighter future.
The Ugandans, Rwandans that are teaching their own children to do the storytelling and the writing and the reading. It all comes together and really just and it enhances the children's lives so much to do it. You would not believe these shy children in the beginning, but once they've written the story and it's presented to this group and the group applauds them, they come out with this new glow, this new confidence. I've seen grown adults sit down on the floor and just pick up a book and sit and read. Part of our model is trying to get the adults more involved and doing the story time with the children, because that really makes it a bonding and it sticks with the children if they can sit with their parents and read. So that's part of our challenge.
Books for Development is also collecting Spanish and French books. They have since expanded their reach into Belize, Guatemala, and Jamaica. If you'd like to donate books or volunteer, you'll find a link in this story on click2houston.com. Andy Sirota, KPRC 2 News.
And the magic of TV. Andy's with us now.
He's not going anywhere yet.
Yeah. Just like that. Just like that. This is an incredible effort. Being there, seeing it all come to fruition, what stood out to you most?
So Peggy Burke, the executive vice president of Books for Development, featured in our story. She said what's amazing is no matter where you are in the world, parents always want the same things for their families, for their children. And that's a good education so that they can better their lives. Think about it. In some of these countries, these kids, they'll walk 5 miles or more to school, and they do it because school is how they lift themselves up. And also the way this operation works, guys, they got it down to a science. I mean, it is a well-oiled machine. The books come in, the volunteers sort the books, they color code the boxes that they're put in, and they're arranged sort of like the Dewey Decimal System from our libraries way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So when they get to Africa and they're ready to set up a library in a space, literally it is a pop-up library. You take the books out of the box and they're right where they need to be.
Already ready to go. Wow, they have, they really do have it down. That's amazing. What are some of the challenges that they face when setting up the pop-up libraries, though? Because, I mean, we're talking about going to remote areas.
And in many cases, Haley, Zach, it's getting to these remote areas.
Just getting there is one of their challenges.
Just getting there is a challenge. And the books are shipped over way before the volunteers even travel overseas. So they've got to create these partnerships to make sure that they can store the books in the right areas. And then when the time comes, they can have access to those books and then get into the space, which those spaces are donated on behalf of the villages or the communities where they are. And then, you know, they always make sure that they want to create a very joyful, colorful space for those libraries to really kind of lift the spirits up of those kids.
To lift and to inspire, right? You talk about this being, these needs, these desires being universal among parents, and ensuring that these children have access to things that we have access to that we might take for granted is really critical. Any talk of expanding this program?
Well, they are collecting books in Spanish and French.
Cool.
They've now expanded into Guatemala, Belize, Jamaica. There's talk of going to Zimbabwe next summer, so that is a country that they have not set up libraries in yet. So they are really expanding their footprint. And again, guys, this is all nonprofit. This is all done by the volunteers. The volunteers pay their own way and donations. They have a one fundraiser every year. It's a luncheon, and that's how they keep this thing going.
It's incredible.
Wow. So how could our viewers help them out? Like, can we donate books? Like, I have plenty of books sitting around my house.
Great.
Children's books, you know, things that kids would love.
Recycle, recycle, recycle,
Yeah,
recycle and reuse. Okay, so we've put a link to the Books for Development website on our website. So just go to the story, the article, click on the link, and all of the information that you need is right there in terms of how you donate the books, how you can become a volunteer, and hey, you know, maybe the three of us one day will volunteer and take a trip to Africa and see what it's truly about firsthand.
How rewarding.
Are they in Houston? Like, do they have a Houston drop-off location?
They do. It is that warehouse on Polk, over just east of downtown, and that's where you drop off the books.
Cool.
And again, anything that's culturally appropriate will likely end up in the hands of a child in a village in Africa.
I once heard that a child who gets read to every night for their whole first year will have heard 1,000,000 words by their first birthday. So that's how powerful books are, and how you know, and informational and educational they are, and how valuable they would be in remote areas like that.
It truly is empowerment, and you bring up a great point. And one of the things that Peggy and I talked about, she said, you know, we encourage the parents to do story time with not just their children, but groups of children. And we also encourage kids to write their own stories. And she said, when you see some of these kids, some of the shyest kids, and it's their turn to present a story that they wrote, just the sheer confidence glowing on their face. I know, and she said, I mean, truly, these books are life-changing resources.
That really is incredible.
I love it. Great information, Andy Sirota.
Best story of the day.
I appreciate it, guys.